What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. Big earnings tomorrow. So I want to break it down on what analysts did today and what shorts did. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO did go up 3.05%, largely just piggybacking off of the broader market's optimism. It is extending that a little bit further during the after hours, up 0.96. 571 the low, 586 the high, and 50.8 million shares being traded. 53.02 is the average. So when it comes down to macro data, there really wasn't all that much coming out from China, nor the States, mind you. There was one Fed speaker that kind of hinted to a December rate cut, and that seems to have kind of got the market very, very hyped up. So NIO largely did piggyback off of that through algorithmic trading. Today there wasn't any news or any SEC filings, but then again, on the eve before a company's earnings, they tend to go kind of radio silent, right? Because tomorrow is going to be their very big day that they're going to unveil everything, what they're going to give for future guidance. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how things do play out. But nonetheless, for those of you that tuned in to my weekend video where I went over some expectations, there was a little bit of a change since then. So most likely something was posted during the weekend from analysts, and it was officially, I guess, kind of included now on Monday. But earnings per share negative 22 cents for that, and then 3.14 billion for the revenue. So those are some of the estimates, consensus. And over the last 90 days, you do now see 2 positive and 1 negative revisions to the earnings per share. When I did a video over the weekend, that was at nil, was at 0. So essentially, you do see some analysts changing their estimates, and it looks like they kind of changed it for the bullish. Kind of a little bit, one bearish again, 2 bullish, but right now this negative 23 cents does work out to be 33.24% year-over-year growth. But what was actually changed was a Q4. So analysts are becoming a little bit more bullish on Q4 onwards, and so right now there's a 98% year-over-year growth anticipated. So it's all going to come down to their future guidance, but it looks as though some analysts were already starting to assume some bullish activity, and so we'll have to wait and see how that does all play out. Nonetheless, when it comes down to shorts, they did return 854,000 shares. For those of you that are new to the channel, you know I like to dive deep into why certain things happen. So for instance, shorts returning on the eve before their earnings, that's bullish. Very, very bullish if you ask me. 11.39% of the free floats being shorted, works to be 157.64 million shares overall being shorted. DTC sitting at 2.14 days, so it does signal that shorts are relatively overextended. Cost to borrow minimum is negative, so that is 0.3. Does signal that there's brokers out there physically paying people to short NIO. So that's been more of a common occurrence for a while. On a side note, I actually did receive a couple of comments about, do I feel NIO is a squeeze play? And as much as I would love to say yes, I just don't see it possible. Only because in order for a squeeze to happen, you need some surprise, and it has to be a full-on surprise. Bad thing about NIO is like they don't have any secrets. They talk and gossip to anyone who will listen. I bring up many speculative things that come out, and the reason why they're speculative is because people gossip ahead of time. So as soon as someone says, hey, you know what, we might have X amount for production or delivery, we have a lot of demand, well, guess what? That gets factored into the price. People start to price that in, both longs and shorts. In order for a squeeze to happen, it needs to be completely a surprise. And it looks as though, in my opinion, NIO just doesn't know how to keep their mouth shut. I know that's kind of might sound rude, but it's the honest truth. We find out everything. So yeah, let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below, but you never know. It's a possibility if they somehow actually are able to keep a secret and kind of surprise the Wall Street. But nonetheless, looking at the options, 6.8 million in calls, 1.4 in puts, and then 56% of all the options being done were bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly, that is looses, so you guys don't care about that. So for NIO, it looks like the bulls are feeling roughly around that $6 to $6.50 is on the table. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub $5.50. So definitely a lot more upside is anticipated. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So somewhat mixed, but most of which are buys. So good to see on the day before their earnings. These are some of the big transactions that did occur today. So given shorts returning just shy of around 1 million shares, it is fair to assume that most of these large ones are linked to them. With it closing at 575, kind of extending that a little bit after hours, it is trading between this S2 and this S3. So 611 is going to be that key point to really watch for it to get over. Then 544 will be that next strong support. Based on this, quickly going over here, the implied move is 8.27%, and that's roughly around a 48-cent move in either direction is anticipated. So again, going back over here, you could realistically see this pivot point, or for it to be kind of mid between this S2 and this S1. So something again just to kind of keep in mind. Aside from all of that fun stuff, these are some of the unusual options. So for those of you again that like to watch my videos, I like to look at out of the money options that are being done through like a single leg, and sometimes even multi, depending, but mostly looking at out of the money options only because it does signal institutions actually betting on a direction. So you see some bullishness, some bearishness. So it looks like a lot of the bullish options are more oriented towards December 19th onwards. Everything seems for here, December 12th, 19th, December the 5th, January, those ones are bearish. So take the time, pause it, read through it, but it does look like big money is playing NIO through a lot of options. So something again just to keep in mind. But today, nothing really crazy on the actual chart, so it didn't break down, kind of just moved higher. But one key point to watch for is going to be this divergence right here. So you have that 100 and also 10-day moving average, very much going to act as a strong resistance. So that is at that $6 mark. So 10-day moving average is at 6, and then that 100 is sitting at 601. So kind of just watch for that. But based on their earnings, we could see kind of it trading right above that slightly, or potentially break down to kind of no man's land a little bit. So either way, it's going to be a lot of volatility. So give yourself a shout out if you did buy today, if you sold. Looking at the market position on a side note, you do see a little bit more willing buyers today than you did on Friday, which is always welcomed, but still you do have that gap right here on a side note. But in theory, it doesn't always have to be filled exactly. I myself, I didn't buy any NIO stock, but I did sell puts. And I really recommend a lot of people to sell puts on any stock that you actually don't mind owning, because it gets you premium regardless of the scenario. So I did sell this Friday as well as the following one, 550 puts. So I think it's kind of long past due that I did buy some more. I think last purchase was at like 720 or 725. Obviously it didn't really pan out that well for that time around, but I think given the recent price action, nobody really could have anticipated that to this magnitude. I think generally there was going to be some level of consolidation, but it seems like people just stopped buying like crazy. So let me know your thoughts on NIO, and do you think that their earnings is going to be a hit, or do you think it's going to be a flop? So what's your kind of general thoughts? One final thing though, pop over to my stacked account. Because of Black Friday, I did put out some promotions. So I lowered the prices of the swing trades as well as the buy alerts. So if you are looking for some solid day trades, swing trades that have been on point, worthwhile to kind of pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.